It was an ordinary day like any other. 85 degrees out, family getting ready to jump in the pool. I was looking for my 6-year-old brother, so I could help him into the pool, but I thought I'd just wait for him in the pool instead. My parents were still inside while I got ready to jump in the pool, but I didn't, because I saw something dark sitting at the bottom of the pool. It took me a few seconds to realize it. It was my little 6-year-old brother at the bottom of the pool. It took my young brain a few moments to realize he wasn't playing around. I screamed in such a loud and high pitch, you would think it was a little girl if you heard it. I remember the feeling of my skin crawling as my helpless 8-year-old self didn't know what to do. My parents burst out the back door. My dad dove into the pool and grabbed my little brother from the bottom. There was nothing short of a miracle that my dad managed to resuscitate him, though. Thereon, after we weren't allowed back into the pool unsupervised until we were both at least 10 years old. It was approaching the end of summer, and my friends and I wanted to do some cool mischievous things before going back to school. So we had a genius idea one night to sneak into a nearby community pool. It was actually only a couple blocks away. It's right back in the middle of a residential area, so instead of sitting on a main road or something and actually just sat around a bunch of houses on a quiet road. During the hot day, the little parking lot would be full and the spot would be bustling. But at 1 in the morning, the place was of course dead. There is obviously a big fence surrounding the whole front entrance, as well as a cage that gets closed up when the place closes. So our best way was to get in through the side. We snuck into the backyard of a neighboring house and hopped the fence over to the pool. It was as easy as that. The 4 of us took off our shirts and jumped into the pool, which in retrospect wasn't smart, since any of the neighbors could have heard the splashes and just called the police, but we were dumb high schoolers. It was very, very dark within that whole enclosing. This pool had no lights, which is why it closed at sunset. James, Courtney, and Elisa were on the other side of the pool, as I was just kind of doing my own thing at first, swimming around and getting my face wet. I saw Elisa get out of the pool shortly after and run away. I swam over to see what was going on. She was just going to the water fountain, though. The 3 of us just popped around in the water for a bit, and eventually we heard Elisa jump back in the pool from the other side. It was too dark to see much more than her black hair covering her face. But just then, we heard Elisa playfully call something to us as she was walking back to the pool. The 3 of us in the pool looked at each other. I know they were doing the same thing as me, counting heads. There were 3 of us on the side of the pool, and here came Elisa walking over to our side. So who was that on the other side? Elisa got in, but the 3 of us were distracted looking at the head bopping around the water across the pool. James said across the pool, "Who is that?" Not even 2 seconds later, the head went underwater and disappeared from view. We took this time to whisper to each other, mostly things like, "What should we do? What if that's security? And should we run?" Suddenly, I felt something grab my leg with force and tried pulling me down into the water. I kicked and splashed and yelled for help. James came over to pull me out of the pool, while the girls were already running for it, screaming. It wasn't until I got to the stairs of the pool that the grip on my leg was released, and I was free. We hopped the same fence we climbed over to get in, and ran all the way back to Elisa's house. I was convinced that whoever that was a security guard. stopped. That is until they literally tried to pull me under the water. We don't know what to think. There are a few possibilities. Maybe it was just another kid messing with us. Maybe it was a security guard who went way too far, or most likely, there was a dangerous person who had ill intents. I remember waking up from a deep sleep and looking at a clock, seeing it was around 2 in the morning when I heard the splashes coming from my pool in the backyard. My bedroom window didn't have a view of the pool, so I had to run down the stairs to the den to get a view. And let me tell you, I was freaking out on my way down there, especially given that I live alone. The blind was shut, but the windows were open, and I could still hear a little splash coming from the pool. I had to be quiet opening the blinds, otherwise I risked exposing myself. I lifted the blinds only enough to get a view of the pool, but the splashing stopped. I waited a few minutes before deciding it was safe to go outside. I walked up to the pool and nearly had a heart attack when I saw a body submerged underwater on the shallow end. I pulled the body out of water, hoping it was more than just a body stow, but he didn't seem to be breathing. I looked around my yard in a panic, and by an off chance caught a glimpse of somebody standing in my bushes. I ran back inside of my house and called 911. The police arrived surprisingly quickly and followed me to the backyard to find nothing but an empty pool. The body was gone, and so was the person standing in my bushes.